You know, I remember back when I was a kid watching Matlock with my grandmother, and Matlock would always be trying to build his case against some bad guy. And he would spend the whole episode building his case and gathering his facts, gathering his evidence. Then he would get him on the witness stand and he would start to lay into him and would start to present his case. And eventually you would see the person starting to get nervous. You'd see them starting to get a little bit upset. And then suddenly they would just come forth and just bust out on the witness stand and just admit everything. And Matlock will kind of look at the judge, look over at the jury, glance back to the crowd. Case closed. We got this guy, and you're on to the next episode. And it was pretty much the same episode every time. But that's where I feel like we're at with Donald Trump. I feel as though we're to the point in the game now where he's on the stand, Matlock's got him cornered, and he's just admitting it all now. He's just going ahead and saying it out loud. And in this next clip, he says, who would have thought you could get indicted for interfering in an election? Take a look.
Whoever heard you get indicted for interfering with a presidential election where you have every right to do it? You get indicted and your poll numbers go up. When people get indicted, your poll numbers go down.
That's just it. You actually don't have the right to interfere in a presidential election. Yeah, as a sitting president, you have a right to recount. You have a right to question the integrity of election. You do. But once you lose over 60 court cases and once your own people are saying to you there's no evidence of any fraud out there, and you keep pushing every lie and conspiracy theory, and you start trying to install fake electors, and you start trying to say, just give me the votes, just make sure, just stop counting. This was the funniest part. Stop counting in the states I'm winning and keep counting in the states I'm losing until you find me the votes. That's what you didn't have a right to do. But he just keeps coming off the rails in this interview, and right here he's talking about how it's a real shame that he couldn't have done more business with Putin. Yeah, he really said this.
We were having a problem. You had Adam Shifty Schiff and all these bad people, including Hillary and others, coming up with this Russia hoax. And I told Putin, I said, you know, it's a shame because we could have done a lot of business, the countries together, but with this whole fake thing that's going on, and he understood that. I said, it's a fake deal. He actually said to me, he said, it's tough to make a deal now. I said, you're right, it's tough. They created a fake narrative, this Russia hoax. It was a hoax. And we could have had a much different relationship with Russia.
First of all, my question is, what kind of business deals is he talking about here? It's just really weird to me as someone who grew up in the 80s, seeing an American president cozy up to Russia and do so in a way where when he talks about Putin, it's like, yeah, we could have had so many good times together if the Democrats just hadn't been mean to us. It's so ridiculous. And this one here is even more over the top because he's saying out loud that China paid him hundreds of millions of dollars. Take a look.
And China paid me hundreds of billions of dollars. And then they say, oh, you're soft in China. I remember President Xi said, if you're soft on me, I'd hate to see if you were bad. And by the way, Putin said the exact same thing. If you're soft, I'd hate to see you bad. This is a good thing. You know, the press, if I said get along with him great, the press would say, oh, he said he gets along with him great. No, this is a good thing. This is a smart thing.
So either A, he's admitting out loud to being paid off here, or B, he doesn't understand his own tariff policy. But do you again see how that he praises dictators and how that he just sounds so warm and affectionate whenever he's speaking of them? It's not that we're against getting along with other countries. And it's not that we're against keeping peace with people. It's just that Trump praises these dictators and praises their practice, and he praises their strength. And he thinks that he needs to rule the same way here, that he admires the way they lead, and maybe he needs to do that here. That's what should be terrifying to people. But in this next clip, this one is pretty funny because he says people are stupid for saying something, and by the end of the clip, he says the exact same thing. No, I'm not making it up.
They also announced they're very low on ammunition. When I came in, they announced we had no ammunition. And I said, number one, who's the stupid person saying that? You could tell a couple of people, but who's the person that wants to say the United States has no ammunition? We're giving it to all of our people all over the world, in particular Ukraine. We're giving them massive, billions of dollars of stuff. And I rebuilt our military, all in 4 years. I have great people. I had great people doing this. And I restocked our ammunition. We had so much ammunition, it was coming out the gills, as they say. We had missiles, now we don't have ammunition. How would you like to be President Xi sitting there saying America has no ammunition? We're so vulnerable.
So yeah, who's the stupid person that said we don't have any ammunition and then we don't have any ammunition? And he will say this stuff and it goes right over people's heads, folks. They just missed this one by a mile. But this next clip is truly disturbing to me because he's asked, how does he go about making his decisions? And his answer is so over the top ridiculous that to me, this should disqualify him from ever being near an office again. But take a look.
How do you come by your decisions and how do you manage in the Oval Office?
Well, I think that I learned, like I talked about the truckers, I learned about trucks, and by talking to them, in 5 minutes, I knew as much as I'm going to have to know to make decisions that are going to be earth-shattering for transportation, for moving cargo and moving a lot of other things. I learned from having interaction. Some politicians don't have interaction. Some politicians aren't smart. They can't have interaction.
So he could talk to someone for just 5 minutes and know everything he would need to know to make decisions that could be earth-shattering decisions. He just needs 5 minutes and he'll know it all. Who in their right mind would believe that? There is no way in the world I would say that to you guys. There's no way I would say, hey guys, just let me talk to this person over here for about 5 minutes and I'll know everything I need to know. Reasonable people would say, you know what, we're going to get in here, we're going to study this thing, we're going to talk to the experts, we're going to spend plenty of time before we make these decisions. The fact that people are sitting back applauding this man and thinking that he has the smarts to talk to someone for 5 minutes and then he can make all the decisions he would need to make. The people that are thinking that, man, I've got some oceanfront property here in East Tennessee. Would you guys please buy it from me? I mean, it is so over the top, ridiculous. I know I use that phrase a lot, but folks, we've just hit that point in the game where everything is so over the top ridiculous. I wouldn't want to hear Kamala Harris or Tim Walz or any future Democratic presidential nominee say, yeah, just let me talk to somebody for 5 minutes and I'll know everything I need to know. I would say there's no way in hell that that's possible. But in this next clip, the one I saved for last, he's talking about the real enemy, and it's the enemy from within. In other words, it's pretty much me and you, but take a look.
The enemy outside, which would be the very standard countries, and we have the enemy from within. We have some very sick people from within. I think that the people that go around indicting their political opponent, especially when their political opponent didn't want to do it to them, I could have done it so easy.
I can't count the times that someone will say to me, Brando, how's the YouTube channel coming along? And I'll say, hey, we're doing really good. And they'll say, yeah, I hope you keep kicking ass. And I say, yeah, I hope so too. I hope Trump doesn't get reelected and shut us all down. And they'll say, oh no, I don't think he would ever do that. And you ain't got to worry about that. I can't imagine him doing something like that. And I say, well, when he's calling us the enemy from within, when he's saying the biggest enemy is from within, when he's praising dictators and talking about how they're rough on their own people and maybe he'll have to be too, I don't know about you guys, but that's just kind of a red flag to me. And the mainstream media is not covering this the way that they should be. I guarantee you their headlines is going to read stuff like, oh, Trump sits down to talk about his critics. Trump talks about relationship with world leaders. It's never going to be bringing the receipts. It's never going to be putting into the proper context what he really is saying. And no, it's not about trying to spread fear and hyperbole. That's not what this is. It's just that we grew up in a country where we were warned, hey, dictators can rise to power and here's how they can do it. And then we see him pulling straight from that playbook, and we're just saying, hey, wait a minute, this looks kind of fishy to us. And in the meantime, the mainstream media will say to people like us, well, you guys need to tone down the rhetoric. We're not the one that turned it up. Okay, we're not the one that turned it up. This is the guy that is on a revenge and retribution tour, saying it out loud and talking about how that, he would lock up his opponents. We actually had the debate in this country about a president executing political rivals, and the Supreme Court decided to give that dude full immunity, no guardrails. And I've said this till I'm blue in the face, but I'll say it again. I don't want Kamala Harris or any future Democratic president or any president I may vote for one day. I don't want them to be able to do their job with no guardrails because there's not another single person in the United States of America who can do that. Go to your job, wherever it is you work, and see if you could just step outside the handbook and see if you can get full immunity from your boss. If anybody can pull that off, please let me know, because Trump is the only person I've ever seen get away with that. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm just sick and tired of seeing this guy get away with this crap. That's why we keep bringing the receipts. But yeah, I believe we're at that point in the Matlock episode where that he's wearing him down. And now he's just saying all the quiet parts out loud. And I really believe once he loses, I believe he's just, the floodgates are going to come off his mouth then. I believe it's just going to be a glorious train wreck as he just descends into madness.